Hey everybody, welcome to GM's Alcove. Got a little forge and brush painting update, what I've been working on, what I've finished. I think my last update, I showed you quite a bit, that big commission I had with the Greek pikemen and Napoleonic Saxons and some French and all that. That was a pretty big one. Kept me busy, but that's long gone and shipped, and the customer has received it, so that's fantastic news. But I've been able to move on to some other commission projects. And this is one you've seen off and on here and there. This is Peter Pegg, British Airborne, World War II. You can see some of the red or maroon colored berets in the mix. Got all these guys here. This is the entire commission. And I'll show you guys what I've gotten done so far. These guys are all paras. We got a couple German bikes, a couple British para jeeps, and of course some partisans over here. So let's take a look. Okay, for starters here, these are some of the newer ones that I've finished so far. I'm using a different painting technique on these. You might notice they've been washed, so they're a little bit dark. Very dark, actually, these guys. But maybe that's the lighting in the camera. These guys, I think, were done. These guys are part of the first batch. I showed these once before. I finished these early on. They're just waiting for their final highlights. I did put some highlighting on the berets of these guys. Otherwise, it's just picking out the ridges of the trousers, some of the camo patterns, that kind of thing. A little bit of highlighting on the backpacks and so on and so forth. And these guys will be done. And this is about 30 plus of them. This is a big chunk of the unit. In addition, I've got about maybe a dozen or so crewmen for a gun. I think it was a 6-pounder we all agreed on. I don't know from the client. It's not going to focus. But these are some of the crew. There's also a couple 3-inch mortars and the crew for those. And there's the mortars. It looks like some of the crew for them. And these guys are all washed, as you can see. And they're waiting for the final highlights. Actually, like I was mentioning earlier, I'm using a little different painting technique on this next batch. Originally what I did is I painted the camouflage before I did the wash. And you can see the camo pattern, but it's a little dark from the wash. And I'd have to go back and highlight some of those spots here and there to make them stand out a little more. But this time, with this second batch, I just painted the base color of the jacket, and I didn't put any camo patterns on it, greens and browns. And what I'm going to do is, after I've washed them, which I've done here, I'm going to go back and paint over the washed figures the camo patterns. I think that might do a better job at showing the camo on these Denison jackets. So that's the plan. That's what I'm working on with these. And again, there's about a dozen of these crew figures, and that's about how far along I've gotten. You got guys there loading rounds into the gun. You've got crew here with some extra ammo, and so on and so forth. So there's a bunch of those guys. We'll set them over here that I'm working on. So these guys over here, these are the ones furthest along so far. Now this next batch I started work on last week, and here's where we are so far. These guys here are all partisans, except for one guy. For some reason he's in with the partisans. He's that guy right there. I'll show the partisans in a minute. Let's take a look at these vehicles. I just finished putting these guys together. I've got them all primed, and there's 3 crew on there. They have separate heads, which were tricky to put on. But there they are. They're all looking around, seeing what's going on. And that's it. So it's just basically the tires and the heads that were separate. The bodies are actually part of the Jeep, and I don't know how well that's going to show up. It is pretty dark. But there's one of the Jeeps. One's a signal Jeep, and one is a tow he's pulling something. I think he's actually pulling a 6-pounder, an anti-tank gun, something. I don't know. Probably that's what those crew represent that I was painting earlier. The crew for that gun. These are probably the guys that lug it around. One of these Jeeps. I think this is the signal Jeep. And yeah, those 2 Jeeps are done. Then we got two of these German bikes with sidecar. Again, probably hard to see because it is primed black. And yeah, they're super glued together. This guy's head was separate, not the driver. And the sidecar was separate. So again, three pieces. You got the biker, you got the sidecar, and you got the head. Oh, and fourth would be the tire? No, I don't think so. I think that's molded onto the piece. So yeah, it's three separate pieces. So there's two bikes for the Germans that I'm working on. Now, these guys, this is a mix of all kinds of little guys. We got some characters here. Got a guy with a briefcase. We got a guy with a blowing a horn. This guy right here. I guess the Battle of Arnhem had one of the British airborne guys was blowing a hunting horn. At least that's what someone told me. That's interesting. Guy here with the umbrella in his hand, waving his men forward. And random guy right here. So there's, I think, four character types, and then we've got 8 wounded. That's what these guys are. They got bandages on their heads. They got a guy here in a sling, shooting a handgun. This guy has the wrap on his head that I'm going to have to paint. And yeah. And then we've got, I think, maybe 8 more guys, which are flamethrowers and lobbing grenades. Here's a couple of the flamethrowers you can see. See it on his back. A couple of guys stretching back to lob some grenades. That kind of thing. And I think these were the last models I was working on. Got the base coat for the Denison jacket. It's a green ochre. British battle dress brown for the trousers, which was the... I basically dry brushed the entire figure in battle dress brown. And then started painting over top of that. Makes a nice little shade on top of the black. And I did the flesh on all these guys. Next up will be the webbing. Some more flamethrowers and so on and so forth. Coming along good. Kind of look like Americans there without their camo pattern on the jacket. But yeah, so I got a bunch of those guys, some characters, and some wounded that I'm working on currently. And lastly are, I think, 16 partisans. And we got some females in here. We've got some dudes. And there they are. Good detail on these guys. These are the ladies. Various types of weapons they're lugging around with them. And I'm looking at color photographs and such of what the French resistance fighters would typically be wearing. I'm doing that at the moment. Around 1944. Here's some more. These are all the dudes. As you can see there, all kinds of little different submachine guns. And the whole thing there. So these guys are the last ones I'll be getting to. So yeah, they're going to get done fairly quick. I imagine a week or two, and a whole lot will be done. They're moving along quite swiftly. And I'm saving the camo patterns on these guys for last. The highlights on all those guys over there off screen for last. Vehicles will be very quick to do now that they're all put together and primed. Yeah, it's mostly dry brushing on the vehicle, and then the guys, and then start painting on the uniform colors and the little details on the Jeep. They got all kinds of things on the Jeep. Canvas, they got cans, and so on and so forth. There's a rifle strapped onto the hub of the tire. Germans will be really easy as well. So I'm looking forward to getting to the vehicles. But we'll see. And you'll see me working on these folks in the paint-alongs. I do them 4 days a week, typically. Usually a 4-hour session is normal. Sometimes a little less, sometimes a little longer. And as always, you guys are welcome to join in the fun over on Discord or YouTube and Twitch. Most of them will be live. Some of them are recorded, and you can watch later just a accompany you with your own painting, because that's what it's all about. So, folks, it's not much. This is my current commission that I'm working on. I'm finally in control of all my different projects. I don't have a whole bunch on the go at once. I'm just able to focus on one at a time at this point, and that's a good thing. And immediately following this, well, when I get to a certain stage anyway, before these are completed, I'm going to start working on those Württembergers 15mm Old Glory Napoleonics. And there's about 16 of them. I got the horses done. I'm going to be working on the tack and the harness and the saddle cloth and everything else. I'll show them off probably in the next update. I'll probably be doing some work on them. And yeah, after this, commission-wise, I do have some projects lined up. Pretty big project, actually. More 10mm Napoleonics, Magister Militum. I'm going to be doing a lot of cavalry, including French dragoons and cuirassiers, as well as Prussians and Uhlans, Lithuanian Uhlans and Prussian Uhlans and Prussian Jaegers, a whole slew of Jaegers, as well as Cossacks. I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of them. Probably break that up into 2 separate projects, and you guys will see me working on that probably in April, early April, maybe late March. We'll see, but I'm planning on April, and that'll carry through for at least a couple months. There's a lot going on with that. It'll be fun to do. I like those little Magister Militums. Yeah, we'll see what comes after that. But folks, this is my painting so far. Taking a break from the paint-alongs. I'll be back on Monday. Stay tuned for that. Usually I do them in the afternoon, late afternoon, currently. Stay tuned for the links for that. Okay, folks, like, share, subscribe. Stay tuned. I do have some more updates coming today or sometime early this week regarding my game hobby and what I've been doing as far as playing games and stuff. A lot of stuff going on, actually. So, folks, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. And hope you enjoyed. And remember, folks, hang in there. It's only going to get better. Take care, folks.